Now, the church has since been ridiculed, criticized, and threatened with legal action. Our reporter Slindelo Masikane is tracking the story for us, and she's managed to track down where the man in the coffin, the one who was apparently resurrected, has been working. Let's take you live to her now. Slee, good afternoon. Firstly, I imagine you had to do some digging in terms of trying to find this man's place of employment. He's become an overnight celebrity, really, right? So tell us, what do you know about him right now, and what do his employers have to say about the situation?
Definitely, Kathy. The man of the hour, identified in the video as Elliot, as said by the pastor, as he's performing that so-called miracle that we saw, that's really been making some shockwaves through social media, receiving some backlash from the religious sector. And all we knew was that this man's name was Elliot and was supposedly dead for a couple of days before the pastor performed that miracle. Now, we've done some digging, and like you said, we've managed to actually track down his employer all the way in Pretoria, and we understand that his real name, in fact, is Brighton Moyo, and he is a Zimbabwean national, and in fact was working in this timber company since around June 2018. Now, to give us more detail around that, I am joined by his employer, Vincent Amoroti. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, and just give us a brief history about what you know about Brighton and how the working relationship was with him here at your timber company.
He was a very nice guy, and he came here about 6 months ago to learn the woodworking industry, and he was very willing and very able, but he was always very smartly dressed, and he at the Christmas party at the end of the year, he was one of the smartest. He learned very quickly, and we made him an assistant machinist where he was planing timber. He did cut the end of, just nicked the end of his finger, and it was like the end of the world. It took his confidence away for quite a long time. But he worked well, and he was a nice guy, and it was an absolute shock to see him in the video and to recognize him with his mouth wide open.
Tell me about that moment. Exactly where were you when you saw the video, and what went through your mind when you saw him and recognized him?
Well, we suspended him a couple of weeks ago for missing a Monday and coming late on a Tuesday. And he was suspended with full pay, but he never came back. And we wondered what happened to him. And one of these friends brought a video into the office and told us that Brighton had died. And I love my employees. We've got 50 guys here. And to know that one of them had died, I was shocked. And when I went to look at the video, and I saw him lying in the coffin, and I saw his mouth moving, I said, he's not dead. And then we saw him breathing, and then we saw him come to life, and those eyes looking all around, it was crazy. So it was a big joke.
Yeah.
And
tell me, I understand, of course, he was quite an avid believer in this pastor, in the church, very religious. He was a member, according to what you know.
He was a member, and they all talk about believing in the things and all that, but I believe his sister and his aunt and another family member are in the church. And he, from what I hear from my staff, he was trying to get people to come and do the act with him. So I believe he has done a stunt in the wheelchair where he got up and he walked away. And he tried to, solicit some of the people that work for me to come and do the shows with him. So it's an ongoing thing.
So it seems that it was almost a part-time job, this kind of work for him.
I think so, and I think that's why he was here, to get the guys to go with him to go and act up on the thing.
All right, so you're saying you haven't seen Brighton since around the 4th of February.
Yeah.
Would you like to have him back?
I wouldn't mind.
Yeah.
It'll be a new guy. It won't be the old guy.
Thank you so much.
All right.
All right. Just also lastly, did he give you any problems? Did he seem like someone who's strange? I mean, what kind of a personality did he have?
He had a very egotistical personality. So if you made a mistake and you screamed at him, he would throw a lip for about, a couple of hours, and it would be difficult to get him to understand that the only way you learn is by making mistakes. So I think this mistake of him in the coffin, I hope he learns a lot, that God won't be happy with him.
Yeah. And lastly, how have your efforts been to try and track him down? What attempts have you made? Have you been able to contact his family, or have you maybe been to his house?
No, I haven't been to his house. I haven't been there, but we have phoned him on a number of occasions, and we have tried to find out where he is, so that to find out whether he's coming back or not, and to see whether we can replace him. And we're going to have a disciplinary without him here, because that's the normal way of doing it. But it's a pity. He was a good egg.
Yeah. Any last words for Brighton? Maybe just a plea to maybe come back to work?
Yeah, come back to work, Brighton. You're a good guy.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right. Kathy, I'm now going to just walk you through into the timber company. We're going to be joined by one of the employees. I apologize for the shaky visuals. We're going to speak to Henk Swanepoel. I'm just going to ask him to come through. He worked quite closely with Brighton. Henk, thank you so much for joining us. Tell me exactly what you know about Brighton. You spent a lot of time with him. You worked closely with him.
Yeah, I did. Brighton was what I would call one of our star employees. Very, very smart guy. Always on time. Generally, really a good worker. I'm very, very shocked at seeing this little clip that I saw. It was, that was quite something. Yeah. Brighton's the kind of guy, if you ask him to do it, you ask him once, he does it. He's, really, really a bright person. Yeah.
What did he specialize in, and did he speak about the church or the kind of work he did for the church?
Well, personally, no. We weren't really on I'd say, close friendship basis. I knew that he did go to church. There were some evenings where they had evening prayers. It's as much I know about the church. Brighton was one of our planers. He was a machine operator, which is pretty specialized. He works on quite a dangerous machine, and he actually cut himself the other day. Did a little nick on his finger, but he was okay.
Yeah. Now, a lot of people are angry at the video. Others find it funny. Do you think it's an issue, what he did there, faking his death possibly?
Sure, I would say it's a huge issue. If you look at the size of that congregation and how many people are there, and they're all there to be inspired, and they're all there to believe, and they do believe, and sort of, leading them on like that, I think it's a massive issue.
Yeah, I mean, it's people's beliefs. You're playing with people's emotions.
You're playing with the soul. You're playing with spirit. It's a big deal. You can't just do that. You shouldn't do that.
It's a bit of a dangerous game.
It's a very dangerous game, and I wouldn't have ever expected Brighton to do this.
Yeah. Yeah. And you haven't been able to get in touch with him either?
No, I haven't. We've been trying through his friends to find out what's happening with the guy, where he is. But no, nothing.
Right.
Not yet either.
Okay. Yeah. All right, thank you so much. Kathy, I'm going to take you through to Brighton's place of work. It is a bit loud. That is why I decided to conduct the interviews just outside of it. And as you can see, it is a timber company. They specialize in woodwork and in making some glass as well. And so this is basically what Brighton did on a day-to-day basis. I am told that he used to work on one of these machines, in fact, which is responsible for smoothing out wood. So as far as we know, nobody has been able to get a hold of Brighton Moyo. I'm making a plea for myself. I would love to speak to him, and if he is watching this, please come and speak to us, Brighton. We'd love to hear from you.
Slindelo Masikani, fantastic work out at the foyer, the place of employment, because he's not suspended just yet. The place of employment of the resurrected man, Brighton, as you've heard then. Even an appeal from his employers that he come back to work. They want to know whether or not he's going to whether he's going to come back to work. I hope this is a lesson to anyone who's thinking about doing this, because Slindelo Masikani will hunt you down, and if you're not available, she will hunt down those that you have worked for in the past. So certainly interesting to get that insight from Slee.
I just also want to mention before we start this video, most of the time when we see things like this, we tend to go towards the direction of mocking the people that actually believe it. Instead of taking the opportunity to actually address what they are believing is not just ridiculous, it can be dangerous for their faith. The relationship the people that see this miracle have with the pastor. And now me and you, we don't have that. Now I've once had that space, where I was in a church where this type of thing happened. There was something that was supposedly a miracle happening. I broke down, cried like a baby. After that, he just went and he did something that was very unbiblical, talking about what, and all that kind of stuff. Because I had my guard off, I couldn't see that. And thank God there was a brother who had gone to that church with me, and he pulled me back and said, Ricky, we are now witnessing something else. If you are in an emotional space to judging these things, you tend not to actually wait it out to see what is thinking, because your spiritual guard is down at that point. So I just wanted to alert you there. I've seen this type of things before. It happened to me. Luckily, I had someone who said, hey, brother, chill, calm down. This is what the Bible says about this. And I was able to back off. And so we should take that as an opportunity to actually minister the gospel and tell people what is wrong with it. And I'm going to tell you my points, 3 to 4 points about this entire thing that show you that there is something that is wrong. Now, second of all is that Pastor Lukau is like the prophetic ministries. He's a prophet, calls himself a prophet. And so what they do, or what they tend to have, is they tend to have what we would know as a spectator, a person who's speaking at the background. Now, Pastor Lukau doesn't just have a spectator, he has a narrator. The woman enters, and as she enters, I want you to notice something about her entry.
Something is happening as the funeral parlor drove over the church door. The next door neighbor that came with him said, it seems like the fingers of this dead corpse is beginning to move.
In her entry, she mentions very clearly, his fingers are moving. Now, he hasn't gone out to pray for him already. Now, we might assume, okay, wait a minute. If the person's fingers are moving, did you really raise the guy from the dead? That was the first thing that came to my mind. He was alive all along. Now, okay, that was the first thing that came to my mind. That crept up into my mind. But then the thought that he might be faking this came to my mind. Now, that thought, I was not really happy to have that thought. I would have wanted it to be, okay, let it at least be legit. Okay. But even at that, there was some problems that came up. And I want you to note the problem. She comes in saying that, wait, his fingers are moving. And if we were just there, and it's the power of God. Okay, fine. When he goes out,
he's a now God. He's a now God. I receive my miracle. My God, look at this. Yay!
Now remember, she came in and told him, when he goes out, the casket is closed. How did they see his fingers were moving? We got problems now, because you got me tripping now, because how did they see? And that it's bolted. They had to screw it and whatnot and unscrew it. Now, how did they know? And how did they know the fingers were moving? First of all, okay, the glass is only up here where you see the face, right? That's the first point. Number 2, if his fingers are moving, this is your family member, and his fingers are moving, and you don't bother to remove the top of the box so that he can breathe. That's the second part that I don't get about this entire thing. I just want to mention, you can see in the clip, he is breathing. You can see he was breathing. The fingers were not just moving, he was already breathing. So who raised him from the dead exactly? Okay, because it looks like he wasn't dead all along. Okay, so it really makes it hard for me to even believe it even more. When they are like transporting the body, mostly what they do is they put cotton on the nose, because they don't want the air to go in. Okay, because if the air goes in, or the air of whatever environment they're in, if it goes in, it can actually cause the body to get swollen. Okay, that's why they put cotton on their noses. If you check a lot of pictures, you'll see what I'm talking about. Now, he doesn't have cotton on his nose. What morgue is he from? Okay, what mortuary is going to bury someone? And wait a minute, they say, oh no, we are actually going to Zimbabwe right now.
He died on Friday. On Friday,
You took him to the mortuary.
we took him to the hospital. That's where they said he doesn't have papers, so we go with him to the doctor. Passed away on Friday, so but on our way going home to see him.
Wait, you're going to take a 10-hour journey in this thing here, and he's not even covered for thingy, and you know that's where also the embalming comes in. What is embalming? Okay, they put certain type of fluids inside the person's body to cause the body to slow down the decaying rate. Because if you just go online and read how quick the body of a human quickly dies out, okay, within the first hour already blood circulation has stopped, whatnot, all of this stuff, the blood thingy drops to the lowest gravity level, and later on the body starts to become stiff, okay, and then it relaxes out after the period, and then the dying of the rest of the muscles and whatnot, all of this stuff happens. And what happens is that the body then comes to a state where the discoloration of the skin comes in. Now he's been in the refrigerator for 3 days. He's been through all of this, and there's no discoloration on skin, nothing. We know that it takes effect. Go look it up. That takes effect within the first 6 hours. Okay, the skin stuff starts coming up, and the body starts to change. Okay, but he's been there for 3 days and nothing. Okay, fine. I'm just telling you the red flags that came up into my head when I was looking at this thing, which is supposed to be a miracle that is happening. Okay, the Bible tells us not to believe every spirit, but to test every spirit. But then some people are just on the bandwagon of believing whatever is shown to them or whatever they see. Okay, this is one of them that I just don't believe. Not because I'm a hater of Apostle Alph. Look, he says his name enough, I don't have to say it. We got so many problems. When you look at the process of embalming, where they pierce this part of the throat, right, and they put in that fluid inside the body so that the body does not decay quick.
Here we go. We're off. The embalming process is done by formaldehyde being pushed through the arteries, through all of the vasculature.
Did he not go through that process? I want to understand, because when you go through that process, the idea is it flushes out the blood out of the body, and that fluid is the one that occupies the body so that it can slow down the decaying speed. He didn't go through that process? Because if he went through that process, there's no blood. Okay, blood has been flushed out. Okay, and so I want to understand, did he not go through that process? Someone can say, no, he didn't. Okay, fine. If he didn't go through, I'm just throwing all these things that come up, which are a problem for me to believe, which are sort of like a struggle for me to trust and believe that this actually even happened. It makes me believe that this is a staged thing. You know, you could ask Thomas Holmes. Go Google Thomas Holmes, one of the guys who during the war, okay, I think it's in the 1800s or so, who came up with this idea of trying to preserve the body from decaying, because during the war they couldn't take back the bodies because the bodies would decay before they get home. And so he was using some chemicals, damaging chemicals, in order to try and preserve thingy, and then later on it got perfected. And so I just wanted to understand that, you know, did he not go through that process? Did he not go through that process? And another thing is this: when you go through that embalming process, basically the idea is to make the person presentable for viewing. Okay. And another thing that they would do sometimes is that when the mouth is open, they will wire it shut. They'll use wires, or they will use glue so that the mouth does not open. His one is open like this. As a matter of fact, it's like the most loudest thing that screams at you when you see the videos. His mouth is like wait a minute, they didn't shut your mouth? They did it? No, No, that's not what happened. Okay. Because it would be unpleasant if you were to go for body viewing and the person's mouth is open like this. Otherwise, it sends a wrong message about the mortuary thing. But then also, there was this message that was circulating that I heard, and I just want to thank the guys that sent me all this some of this information, especially this message that showed the person. There was someone who tried to call up the mortuary, and the mortuary said, no, we don't know anything about this. They just hired the car, and they went there probably not even knowing what is happening. And so it raises a lot of questions, because it makes it look like the mortuary is not doing its good job to dress this person to be presentable. They even got him in a white suit, but he's there opening his mouth, you know. And so it's not how they do things. They will do everything possible to shut that mouth, to keep that mouth shut. But here it's not the case. Okay, the mouth is not glued or wired shut, and this is hence you have him opening his mouth. That's why you went through the embalming process that I'm explaining, where they drain out the blood and put all this chemical. You wouldn't survive that anyway. And so I don't know, maybe the chemical turned into blood. And then again, there is another thing that goes on. I think this is the third or the fourth point. They then put this long thingy, I'll put up a picture, where they try to take all the gas and air out of the stomach, intestines, to just get the air out so that you don't become bloated. Okay, so they stab at least for about 15 minutes. You can even, there's even videos, okay, on YouTube where they're actually explaining the process of embalming. Okay, I had to go watch all of that, all of those videos for me to understand what happens. Okay, so some of the things that I'm telling you, these are things that I watched online, and they tell you what is the you go to school for mortuary what. Okay, unless you are saying these people are not professionals. So thank you very much, guys, for checking out my video. I totally appreciate your time. Hope you do find other videos down on the channel. I do more than 5 videos at least a week, and you might find some of the videos that you might actually like on my channel. I have over 450 videos going towards that mark, and do subscribe for more of this type of content where we talk about some of these things that are happening in our society, whether it be religious content or social conversations that are happening out there. I am your boy Ricky, and this is the Rick's Reality Show. We have to put some of this check on some of these people that don't really like living in reality, and make sure that everybody understands the fakery and mockery that is going on in these places which claim to be Christian. It's really ridiculous, because if they are faking this one to this extent, it tells you something about how they think of God. Okay, now you might think, oh no, these guys have a fear of God. No, you don't know. You see, when it says it is easier it is harder for a rich man to enter into the kingdom, he said these guys have become wealthy, and that's where the danger is that they've become wealthy without really knowing God. Now they might say that they knew God, but then when they had money didn't just seem to only corrupt them, it seemed to alter how far they are willing to go. Go watch my Bushiri videos, I explain all of these things. And with him also we see the same thing, where you lose your conscience in terms of what is really within the space of believable. Not even believable, ridiculous. So these are the things that I wanted to point out, especially if you went to the morgue and they did the embalming. There is no way he's rising from the dead. You are dead there, Chief. You guys tell me what you think. Leave me a comment. I'll be down here to read all of your comments for the rest of the day. I'll be up here. It's Ricky. Thank you very much. Totally appreciate your time, as I've mentioned. See you on a later on video. I gotta get out of here. I'll see you on tomorrow's video.